Hey friends, today we're making hot Cheeto elote cups, and if you're not aware of the elote man, then you don't know that what that is corn on the cob with a bunch of really nice seasonings on it. Even though they're very simple, it makes corn taste absolutely amazing, and today we're putting it in cups, topping it with hot Cheetos, and accentuating the flavor. It's time to shuck some corn! I've never shucked corn before. This should be really interesting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. How many layers are there? Whoa. Ooh, look at that cone. This is exhausting. What does it taste like? Oh, I don't like that. No, we gonna cook it. We're gonna cook it first. Now, traditionally with elote, you do have everything put on the corn itself on the cob, but because we're making elote cups, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the topping that we typically put on it first. That way we can layer it into our cups. So first things first, we're gonna get some crema, and the crema is Mexican sour cream. However, if you cannot get Mexican sour cream, regular sour cream works just fine. And I kind of measure this with my heart, as I do with most things, and just put it in the bowl. And to that, we add some mayo. Now, the mayo is gonna be maybe about half the amount of sour cream that we use, and that is gonna go right in there. I might use a tiny bit more, because that really is what gives it that like really fatty and delicious flavor, aside from the butter. And then we're gonna put some salt in there, just a little bit, because the salt itself is gonna give it a lot, or the butter itself is gonna give it a lot of flavor. So we only add a tiny bit of salt in there, and then a little bit of pepper, just to give it a little bit of spice. Again, we don't want it too spicy, considering the fact that we're gonna top it with hot Cheetos. And then we are going to do a little bit of paprika, and that's just to add a little bit of a nice smoky flavor to it. We're also gonna add a tiny bit of cotija. We are gonna layer the cotija in the layers as well, but I like to put a little in this mix just so you get a little bit more salty in the layers themselves. Now, I just took a little corner here, but we're just gonna take a tiny corner and we are going to crush it into our mix. So this is kind of an elevated crema. You have salt, cotija, pepper, paprika. It's a bit of an elevated flavor. If you wanted to use this on tacos, you could as well. In a burrito, that works just fine. And you don't have to get it very smooth, because we want those big pieces of cotija to actually give a lot of saltiness to the corn cups. Now that we've got our water boiling, let's add our corn. Cover that baby up, and we are gonna boil that probably for about 20 minutes. Our hot Cheeto elote cups would not go anywhere without the hot Cheetos. I prefer using hot Cheeto puffs just because they break apart a lot easier than traditional hot Cheetos. They're a little bit puffier, a little bit airier. It makes it way easier in terms of breaking it up and getting it onto your elote cup. So we'll just fill our snack bag here. And then you can mush these. Honestly, they're so soft that you can typically mush them with your hands. I'm just gonna use a mallet because I have one and it's easier. But really, you can use a rolling pin, you can use a book, you can use your hands. Really, whatever you can get your hands on is gonna be what's best to mallet these hot Cheeto puffs. And we'll just all right, so we take the corn out. We have been boiling it for about 25 minutes. Should be fully cooked by now. We'll take it out, and then we'll slice all those corn knobs out so that we can get them into our elote cups. So once we have our corn out of our pot, we can stab the top to hold it while we take the kernels off. So just make sure you have a really good grip on that, and then get close to the kernels and go ahead and slice those off. And they should come off fairly easily, especially because of the fact that they're cooked. Now that we've taken our corn off the husk, we're gonna mix it with a little bit of butter. Make sure that your butter is softened. It doesn't really need to be, but I find it's a lot easier to make it softened already, just because it mixes into the corn a lot nicer. And then we're gonna mix that in just so that the corn is nice and buttered. With elote, you will find that a lot of the time they put softened butter kind of on the kernels themselves. And for that reason, especially because we're making cups, I like to have the corn pre-buttered, just so you're already getting that butter flavor inside of the corn without having to do extra butter on it. So we're gonna do that, and then it's time to assemble. So I have a little glass here, and in the glass, the first level that we're gonna do, or the first layer we're gonna do, is a little bit of corn. And make sure that you get a nice little layer on the bottom there. Gonna do a little bit of cotija, put that in there. This is like a nice little corn parfait. A little bit of that mix that we made earlier. Put a good layer of that on there. Make sure it gets spread around really nicely. And again, that already has cotija in it as well. And then a little layer of our hot Cheeto dust. And we're gonna keep doing that until we get to the top, or we reach the end of our elote. We have got our elote cup assembled. Everything is in beautiful layers with the butter, the crema, the cotija, the hot Cheetos, and all the seasonings. Let's dig in and take a bite. Let's get all the way, well, as far as we can. There we go, look at that beautiful layer of hot Cheetos there. Oh my goodness. No offense, but better than the elote, man. I personally like elote better in a cup than on the cob, especially when I make it, because we can put it in those beautiful layers and make sure that all the seasoning gets all over it. Typically when you eat it on the cob, you knock some off with your cheeks, you get it all over your face, you kind of knock it off as you're eating the cob itself. But when it's in a cup, you get to get all of the layers, you get to get all of the flavors accentuated in the dish itself, where usually you don't get that. And I've seen a lot of the times when you do get elote cups, they kind of fill everything with the corn and then put all the layers on top of it, rather than layering it this way where you get all of the flavors in multiple layers. So even if you can only fit like the first two on your spoonful, you can still dig in and get every single flavor from every single layer when you dig in. This is definitely a must-have for your next gathering. If you want to just make it for yourself, you want to be selfish and not give anybody your hot Cheetos, this is the way to go.